As I mentioned, I'm Kelly Sittig. I'm going to be presenting today. I am the Communications Coordinator over here at the Iowa Cancer Consortium. I'm glad you guys have all joined us today. Again, as a reminder, if you're joining us by phone, please press *# so you can mute your line. We'd appreciate that. Before we start today, we're going to go over just a couple housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be archived on canceriowa.org. So we'll make sure to send out that link for you after the webinar when the recording's available in case you want to come back and watch the recording to reference anything. I also want to make sure to point out a couple things over to the right of your screen. You can see the chat box in the upper right hand corner. Right now, Rachel just typed something that said, if joining by phone, please press *# to mute your lines. As we're going today, I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to ask questions as we go. So we won't need to wait until the end to ask questions. We can try and make this as discussion-oriented as possible, seeing as we're talking through a chat box. But we've got both Rachel and Allie over here at the consortium who are going to watch for questions. So as we go along today, please use that chat tool up there to ask your questions, and we'll do our best to get those entered or asked or answered as they come in. I also want to point out there's a web links box down below, a little bit farther down on the right. There's some links that you might find helpful, a couple which I'll mention as we go along today, but those should direct you right to those links. And then below that even, there's something that says Twitter 101 PDF, and that is just a PDF you're welcome to download that has some of the terms we're going to talk about today. I can try and remember to reference that again. So just some tools for you. Again, most importantly, please ask questions as we go, and we'll make sure to get them answered. At the end of the webinar, we are going to provide an evaluation that will just pop up in your screen. If you would help us out by answering the evaluation, that helps make sure that we're providing you content that you're finding useful. All right, we are going to start with a little poll. I know some of you have answered this question already through a SurveyMonkey last week, but since we have some folks who weren't registered at the time, I want to quickly just take a quick poll. If you don't mind answering these, they're all anonymous. Good. Right, so it looks like most people do not have a Twitter account. Some do and even know their password. All right, and then we have a couple folks who, or one person who does have a Twitter account, maybe doesn't remember the password, which is A-okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. All right, we're going to go ahead today. Now, if you are anything like me, my first interaction with Twitter, honestly, this is how I felt for a very long time, and we get the impression that many of you feel that same way. And I think a big part of the problem is that tweets can look like an entirely different language. This is one my brother-in-law actually wrote just for this webinar of a confusing tweet. This is what all tweets looked like to me when I first joined Twitter, and I get the impression that some of you feel that same way. And then just for fun, here's another slightly confusing one from Chuck Grassley, who is kind of a notorious tweeter. He does all the tweeting himself, which I think is fantastic, but he has admittedly said that he does not like to type, so at times his tweets can be a little bit confusing. But I'm hoping that after today's webinar, you're going to be able to set up a Twitter account, for those of you who don't have one yet, read and understand common Twitter language. So we're going to kind of dig through some of those confusing things about tweets themselves and talk about how to understand them. Navigate your own Twitter page and others' Twitter pages. Find important people and organizations to follow. And most importantly, tweet and engage on Twitter, because that's really what Twitter is about, is engaging with other people. So the question is why? Why is it important to be on Twitter or at least understand it and be willing to check it out and give it a try. So I don't think it'll be a surprise to anyone that 72% of online adults are social networking site users. I don't think that surprises anyone. 15% only of online adults use Twitter, and I know that seems low, and I think that here in Iowa we would see probably even a little bit lower than that. But my argument today is that Twitter is this amazing source of easily accessible real-time information, and I think it is completely different than any other source of information like it. Even if you don't have a lot of followers, this is a great tool, a great way to be plugged into what's going on, not only in the comp cancer world, but the rest of the world. So here's kind of a fun example. I did a quick search for stories that broke on Twitter first, and actually over in your web links, you'll see a link that says 10 news stories that broke on Twitter first. It's a really interesting article if you want to go back to that link later and read it. But this is a good example of big major events that have happened that are on Twitter before they're even on a news source. Obviously, this is a picture of the 2009 New York plane crash that happened on the Hudson River. People were posting photos before it hit the news. The first person to tweet about it said the tweet was just basically, "I just watched a plane crash on the Hudson." And that was available via Twitter and spreading around the world before the news sources even had access to it. So a lot of people say, well, I'm already on Facebook, so I don't really need to be on Twitter. A lot of organizations say that same thing too. And I think that a lot of people don't realize, again, that Twitter is very much its own entity, and it is different than Facebook in a lot of really significant ways. So Facebook is great for family and friends. And obviously, I think most of us who are on Facebook understand that we can follow organizations on Facebook. Obviously, the consortium has a Facebook page, and we use it pretty regularly. Twitter, I think, is better for businesses, organizations, groups, news sources, celebrities. You have access to all of these amazing people and entities throughout the world that you really don't have access to on Facebook. This is one fun example that I love to show. On Twitter, you can follow the Mars Curiosity, and the Mars Curiosity tweets. And in fact, if you go back and read the 10 news stories that broke on Twitter first, you'll see that one of them was finding ice on Mars. And this is just such a cool feed to follow. You can see they have over 1 million followers, and a perfect example of information that you may not have at your fingertips otherwise. That's kind of neat. So on Facebook, from an organizational viewpoint, only a fraction of your posts are seen by your followers. So to put that into perspective, the ICC Facebook page has, let's say, around 180 followers. When we make a post, only probably a third or fewer of those people actually see that post because of this algorithm that Facebook has that decides what posts are important and who wants to see them, etc. But on Twitter, all of your posts are seen by all of your followers. And I think that's important not just from an organizational standpoint, but also from an individual. If I follow someone, that means I'm interested in their content and I want to see that. I want to know what they're putting out. I don't want the social media entity to decide that for me. So on Facebook, if you're individuals, you must mutually follow each other. We call that friending on Facebook. But on Twitter, you can follow anyone, any individual, organization, business just instantly. And I think that's very important too. It just makes it a little bit more seamless and, again, instantaneous. Some people do have Twitter accounts set to private so that you do have to request permission, but most do not, and I would actually make that recommendation that if you're starting a Twitter account, you do not set it to private. Again, you're going to have to think a couple times about the information that you're posting on there and use Twitter a little differently than you may use Facebook, which tends to be a little bit more private depending on who you ask. On Facebook, ads are everywhere. On Twitter, ads are much less invasive. Most of your content is the content that you want to see. There's no character word limit on Facebook, and this is my bias here. I actually like the character limit for posts on Twitter because I think it requires people to be creative, brief, and efficient. And I think that's actually very important in communication. You're going to get what people are saying in just a few words. You don't have to wade through it. Okay, so I hope you have your pencils or whatever you're taking notes on, your iPads ready, because we're going to start to get into kind of the nitty-gritty lingo and how a tweet functions, how Twitter functions. So what is a tweet? We're going to start from the very basic. It's basically your thoughts and words posted on Twitter so that the people who are following you can see them. That can include images. It could just be words. It can include links. Tweets must be 140 characters or fewer, and that does include spaces. I've heard some reference lately to 125 is the new 140. So that's why I kind of emphasized or fewer there. If you can get your tweets even smaller than 140, that's going to be beneficial in a lot of ways, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So tweets, which again is just a statement of your thoughts, might include links, might include a picture, can also include Twitter handles, hashtags, and as I mentioned, links. And we'll talk about Twitter handles and hashtags. Just to start us getting familiar with the whole look and feel of Twitter and tweeting, here are some examples of recent consortium tweets. So you can see it could be something as simple as the happiest of Thanksgiving to all of you, to linking to interesting articles. We added a new project to the online cancer plan database, and we included a link for that. Again, the last two I think are just our article links. The two very basic things that you need to know to start out with on Twitter are Twitter handles or usernames, which are denoted through the @ sign and then a name, and hashtags. So let's start with the Twitter handle. So it's basically how you're identified and tagged on Twitter. It's different than your name, which can get confusing. I'm going to show you these really quickly again here. You'll notice that at the top of each tweet, it says Iowa Cancer Consortium. And then after that, it says @Cancer Iowa. The @Cancer Iowa is our Twitter handle or username. Iowa Cancer Consortium is the name we've identified. So on my personal account, it might say Kelly Wells Sittig in black, and then after that it'll say @Kelly Sittig, which is my handle. Okay, so you'll have to think about how you want to identify yourself that way. Here are some examples we can look at. Again, you can see the Iowa Cancer Consortium @Cancer Iowa. These Twitter handles are also used to identify people and to mention them in tweets. So looking at the top one, we're talking about the 2012 BRFSS report available. We include a link to the report. And then we mention the Iowa Public Health Association. Actually, I think that's the Department of Public Health. But we mention them at the end, and basically it's going to tag them and let them know that we talked about something in reference to them in the tweet, but it's also going to give the readers of the tweet information about people and organizations who might be connected to that. So the second tweet, again, we used it right in the tweet itself from our friends at Iowa PHA, which is the Public Health Association. Free webinar focusing on building partnership for a healthier Iowa, and a link. Okay, I'm watching the chat box. Any questions about the Twitter handle username? Let us know again as we go along. Any questions you have? Okay, we'll talk a little bit about hashtags now. Basically, and I think this is very intimidating to a lot of people because we've never seen it before, but all it is a word or a phrase, any word or phrase. You could get on Twitter right now and hashtag pizza. It could be anything. What it does basically is makes it searchable. So entering any hashtag, and as I said, it could be a phrase also typed all as one word, is going to make it searchable via that hashtag. Anybody else who has used that hashtag, you can find those people instantly. It's also used as a commentary on the tweet itself. So this would be, think of it in two parts. One is trying to connect people who are interested in the same topic. So you might use the word hashtag cancer in a tweet instead of just typing cancer. And then if you clicked on that hashtag, and we'll do examples of these later, you would find other tweets from other people, not just those you follow, who have used that hashtag cancer. So if you get really even more specific, you're going to be able to connect with people who are interested in the same topics as you are. Now, one thing about hashtags, though, that make them a little bit harder to understand is they're also used as a commentary on the tweet itself. Um, so here, right here, let's see how we're using it. We've got tomorrow is the Great American Smokeout. Are you ready to quit smoking? And then we've got a link. So in this tweet, we've used Great American Smokeout as a hashtag. You'll see it's all written together. And then in the actual tweet, if we clicked on that hashtag, we would find other tweets from other people and organizations that are tweeting about the Great American Smokeout. Now, so I mentioned also use as commentary, and I tried to find a good example of this as an actual tweet. Could not. So instead, we're going to watch a little bit here. Take me just a second to pull it up. Okay, Lydia, I will get your question right after we watch this here.
Hey, Justin, what's up?
Not much, Jimmy. Hashtag chillin'. What's up with you?
Just been busy working. Hashtag rise and grind. Hashtag is it Friday yet?
Hey, check it out. I brought you some cookies. Hashtag homemade. Hashtag oatmeal raisin. Hashtag show me the cookie.
Sweet. Hashtag don't mind if I don't. Pretty good. Hashtag getting my cookie on. Hashtag I'm the real cookie monster. Hashtag no, 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 no.
Delicious, right? Hashtag I did it all for the cookie. Hashtag LOL.
Okay. So you can see, and this is my example of how people might use a hashtag as a commentary. Instead of tweeting, they're talking, but it's the same thing. So they're making a statement in their tweet, and then they're hashtagging some phrase about that. And it's Rachel, thank you. It's basically just a comment on the tweet that they're doing. Okay, so Liddy, do you use the same username with different names? Let's see. So do you mean, Liddy, I'm going to ask, do you mean, I might need to verify that. I'm trying to think of an example. Let's see what Liddy says here. Kathy, I'm going to get your question right now. What if the hashtag you use was previously used by someone? Does it link to that string for how long years? So yes, and really don't even think about it in a time other than that tweets happen at a certain time. But anybody can have access to any hashtag. It's not like once you use a hashtag, you own that hashtag. Anybody could use it at any time. So I gave the example hashtag cancer. My guess is that has been used billions of times. And it didn't originate necessarily from one person. So if you click on that, you're going to see it's going to start with the most recent tweets, but it's going to be anybody who's used that. So that's a really good question because it is important to know that nobody really owns a hashtag. Even if a company or an organization, we'll take again the consortium as an example, were to set up a hashtag that is very specific to that organization or business. So for example, hashtag Iowa Cancer Summit, in a way we own that because we're probably one of the only folks who are going to be tweeting about the Iowa Cancer Summit and using that hashtag, but honestly anybody could use it. So if you want to track things through a hashtag, it is important to come up with something pretty specific. Not to be confusing, but if you've heard of things called Twitter chats, it's basically just somebody saying at 8 p.m. on Friday evening, we're going to have a Twitter chat. The hashtag we're going to use is hashtag cancer is awful. And then anybody who has that hashtag can hop on Twitter, do a quick search, and watch the tweets come in regarding that hashtag and participate in the chat by using that hashtag. So again, if you wanted to do something like that, you would want to use a very specific hashtag that's not likely to be used by others. And for how long? Yes, forever. We all know that we have to be careful about the content that we put out on the internet because it will be around forever. Okay, and Liddy, so to follow up with your question, so if your username is ACS, can you use it with a number of different names? I think what you're asking is maybe a number of different users. One user handle, so let's say at ACS is only going to be linked to one account. But if what you're asking is, can you have at ACS and then change your name? So at ACS is the user handle, and then at times you want your name, not your user handle, to show up as the American Cancer Society. Sometimes you want it to show up as ACS. Yes, that you can change. Okay, so I see Liddy said yes, so hopefully did that answer your question, Liddy? Okay, awesome, perfect. Great questions, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, we're going to dig in here. Look at you, Liddy, hashtagging. Woo woo, that was awesome. Okay, so some more lingo. Hopefully we're not too confused yet, but here we go. These are some of the ones you're going to hear quite a bit. So following. When you follow someone, all that means is that you've chosen to see that person's tweets show up in a list of tweets from people you follow, if that makes any sense. And again, don't get too overwhelmed with these right now because we will do examples of these in a little bit. And just to think of it the other way too, people who follow you are going to see your tweets in their feed. So this is just a quick screenshot of the Iowa Cancer Consortium homepage. See where tweets is circled? That's our feed right there. And all of these people are people we follow, or they're people that have been retweeted. Don't worry about that if it's confusing right now. So this Tony guy down here, you can see it was retweeted by Hershey Cause, and so it shows up in our feed because we follow Hershey Cause. Don't get too confused by that right now. Don't worry about it if it doesn't make sense. Retweet. So basically just means posting someone else's tweet on your feed for your followers to see. Okay, another example of that. So the consortium does not follow NYU Urology, but we do follow the National Cancer Institute. This tweet is going to show up in our feed, and it is exactly what NYU Urology tweeted. National Cancer Institute retweeted it to their followers, and because we are a follower of the National Cancer Institute, it showed up in our feed. So it's basically just taking someone's exact tweet and sending it to, sharing it with your users or your followers. Okay. Question. Okay, see a couple questions. We'll grab those here in just a second. Modified tweet, think of it this way. It's a retweet in which you have edited or modified the original tweet's content before you shared it with your followers. So retweeting is posting exactly what the person said, okay? Modified tweet is just that. It's the tweet, but you've modified it, okay? And this is a cute example of what that means. So if Charles Dickens were tweeting, this is a modified tweet because the words have been changed a little bit. And as a note, this is exactly how it probably would be put, which is why it's important to know these little abbreviations. If you're modifying a tweet, this is probably how you're going to want it to show up. The letters MT, so the readers of your tweet know that it's a modified tweet, it's not exactly, and at Charles Dickens, so they know exactly whose tweet was modified. And then they know what comes after it is a modification of the original tweet. Okay, so Kathy L. asked, isn't your last example more than 144 characters? Let's look. I think this is the one you were talking about, Kathy. Without counting, I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because usually what happens is if you are tweeting from somewhere outside of Twitter, it's going to just like stop at 144 characters and go ... and you'll know there's more. So an example of that would be sharing a photo from Instagram onto Twitter. You can type more than 140 characters on Instagram. You can share it to Twitter from Instagram, but if there are more than 144 characters, Twitter will just take that and put out 140 characters and then go ... so you know there's more. So I think that it looks like a lot, you're right, but I think that it probably is 140. And actually, because there is a picture, the pic.twitter.com and then that extension probably does not count in the actual tweet, if that makes sense. Good question. And Liddy says, so if we follow the ICC, will we get all of the info on your feed? All of the info, oh, Liddy, I'm so sorry. This is why chatting is hard. If you could tell, like what info, if you could type that into the chat box, Liddy, I think that would help me answer your question a little bit. And, okay, the news feed from your account. Okay, so if you're following the ICC, that means you get the ICC's tweets only. You don't get it from our feed. So we are following people, and that's what we see in our feed. And people who are following the ICC see the ICC's tweets within their feed along with the tweets from the other people they're following. I think that hopefully that answered the question. Just yours, not what you are following. Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. Good questions, good questions. Okay, so hat tip. I don't see this one very often, but I've seen it enough that I thought I should include it. It's basically, it's similar to retweeting. It gives credit to someone else for a tweet's content. So it may not be a modified tweet where you're taking parts of the actual language. It might just be an idea. It might be a modified tweet. It's very similar. FF or hashtag FF is one that you'll see a lot, and that means Friday follow. So on Friday, lots of Twitter users post suggestions of other Twitter handles that they think their followers might like. And we'll look at an example of that here. So all this is starting with hashtag Friday follow. And just a reminder, if this were the real tweet, you could click on that hashtag FF and be taken to a list of all sorts of Friday follows from around Twitter. But this one happens to say, is coming from Minority Health, and it says, Friday follow these great sources of HIV/AIDS prevention information. And then they just list Twitter handles of other people and other organizations that they think their followers might find interesting. So it's a good way to share and get people talking about topics and engaged with other people who are interested in the same thing. So Friday follow. A favorite. Readers favorite a tweet by clicking on a little star icon appearing next to it, and we'll do this once we're exploring a Twitter account. And basically the purpose of this is twofold again. It either is like a like button on Facebook, so it shows appreciation for a tweet, or I should say, it marks it for future reference. So if you see a tweet you want to come back to, you can hit the star icon and then see it in a list of your starred tweets later. So it's a good way to say, hey, thanks for that tweet, but it's also a good way to mark it so that you can check it out later. Trending is something you'll hear about quite a bit on Twitter. All this means is keywords or phrases or hashtags that are really popular and being used a lot on Twitter at any given moment. And actually, if you read that 10 news stories that broke on Twitter first article that I linked to at the right, you'll hear about some news stories that broke because people were watching what was trending on Facebook or on Twitter. I don't really pay much attention to it. I don't know. I know a lot of people think it's really great. And maybe some of you can give examples of times that you've looked at it and found it interesting, but it's referenced quite a bit. So, and I know that a lot of people, especially in business, are going to pay attention to that. Okay, DM is an abbreviation for direct message. It used to be that people, in order to do this, would have to type in the letters DM, but now on Twitter's page, there's a little envelope icon you can do. You can hit to send a direct message. So this is where privacy comes in on Twitter. If you need to communicate with someone, you don't want to do it through an actual tweet, you can direct message them. Or somebody might say, DM me the details in a tweet or a reply or something like that, and you'll know that means direct message me. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. It's basically just a private message or tweet between you and another user. And then a reply, which I just mentioned too. But it's basically just a response to someone else's tweet. This is where I don't want you to get confused. So if it doesn't make sense, hang on because we'll practice. But this is, and I think everybody will say this is one of the most confusing things. When you reply to somebody's tweet, so you see a tweet that says, we're going to have a Twitter 101 webinar, and you want to reply to it and say, what time is it? You can hit reply. I'm going to show you over here where you find all this stuff. And again, we'll practice later. But you hit reply. It starts with the person's Twitter handle. So actually a better example would be this. Let's say we're going to reply to this tweet we're looking at right here. It would start with @minorityhealth. If you typed in your tweet after that and then hit reply, it's like a tweet, except it only shows up in the feeds of people who are following both you and @minorityhealth. So back here, you'll see me reference the fact that if you want all of your followers to see a reply that you make to somebody's tweet, you want to add a period to the beginning of your reply, okay, to make it visible to all of your followers. Don't worry if that doesn't make sense yet. We'll practice, okay? Covered a lot of the basic lingo. Got a ways to go here in getting our hands dirty and trying it out. But I want to make sure to mention that once you understand Twitter and have had time to play with it, what is the best way to use it to get the most out of it? And that is not to lurk, but to engage. And I'm going to tell you, though, it's okay to lurk a little bit, too. And in fact, I do a lot of lurking because I use Twitter to get information. And what I mean by lurk is basically just watching what happens without engaging. And that's a good, Twitter, like I said, is a great place just to get information, even if you're not engaging on it. But if, let's say you're tweeting from an organizational perspective and you want to build the conversations, you want to build followers, you want people to see what's going on, you're going to have to engage. And what that means is basically doing things that we've already talked about. Following people, tweeting yourself, retweeting people's tweets that you find interesting, mentioning people, hashtagging when appropriate, replying to tweets, and favoriting. Rachel is saying, do you need an Instagram account in order to post photos on Twitter? Good question, and the answer is no. You can post photos directly on Twitter, and I will show you how to do that here in a little bit. That's a really good question. Okay, so this is how we were feeling at the beginning. We understand a little bit more lingo, and we're going to start to feel like this because we're going to start to dig around and do some practicing, okay? All right. Back out here, and we're going to look at the ICC's Facebook page. Questions before we go on about any of the topics we've covered so far before we start to get interactive here? Right. So here we are actually in real time looking at the Iowa Cancer Consortium's Facebook page. Okay, before we get into it, I just want to note that this over here, so where I think you can hopefully see my cursor, but where you see the cancer plan, the ICC logo, and then it says a partnership of Iowans working together to conquer cancer, ignore that because it is not actually part of Twitter. It is just an image I placed on our Twitter page background. Okay, so ignore that. What we're looking at here is this that says tweets. Can you guys see my cursor? Okay, Rachel said yes. Okay, so tweets, and all the way over here, we're going to talk about all this stuff, okay? To start out, what I want to point out is, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Oh, wrong way. Looking at these two tabs up here, Home and Me. I think those are the most important places to understand. When you are on the Home tab, which we are right here, what you're going to see in your tweets column is basically tweets from people you follow, okay? So we follow all of these people and organizations. Now, the one time that might not be, the couple times actually, that might not be true, we do not follow at Smokey Bear. But the reason it's here is because it's been retweeted by the Ad Council, and we do follow the Ad Council. So they have shared this Smokey Bear tweet with all of their followers, one of which is us. I'm trying to find also, occasionally we will see something that says promoted tweet. I don't see that. It will have this little promoted symbol on it. That's where you're going to see advertising. It's going to be a tweet that somebody's made. They've paid money to have it show up in people's feeds who they think might be interested, okay, in them. So if you see something funky, it's probably either that or a retweet. Okay, makes sense? All right, so right here is what we're seeing. People who we follow, we're seeing what they have to say. Let's find a good one at American Cancer Society. 300,000 people enrolled in a groundbreaking study on the causes of cancer. Hey, it's a hashtag. It may be the next big cancer breakthrough. Bit.ly is a link, so if we linked here, if we clicked on this link, it would take us to probably an article or more about this topic. Here's the cancer hashtag. Let's see how it works. So you can see how when I roll over hashtags, links, and usernames, it kind of looks like a link. So I can click on cancer, and this is going to tell us all about that hashtag, okay? So here, top, we can choose to see all of the results for the hashtag cancer or just from the people we follow. So to answer one of the questions before, you can click on just the people we follow, and it's going to show where that hashtag has been used by the people we follow, which is pretty handy, especially for more broad hashtags like cancer, if that makes sense. But do you see that this is all basically just every tweet in order of chronology where the hashtag cancer has been used? Back to our home tab here. Now, the same thing can be done with any sort of user or Twitter handle. So we follow Susan G. Komen. Here they're tweeting about Komen Philly. Let's say we were interested in knowing more about that organization. Click there, their profile comes up. It talks about who follows them, who they're following, how many tweets they've done, shows us a couple tweets from them so we can get a better feel for them, gives us the option to follow them. All we would do is click that follow or go to the full profile. And of course, it tells us a little bit up here. That's really handy that you can click on any username, any hashtag, any link to get even more information. have one new tweet. So I can click on that and it'll show me the next one. Okay, also on this home tab, it's going to tell us a little bit about us. We have tweeted 388 times. We're following 126 people and organizations. We only have 96 followers, but that's actually pretty good, I think, considering how many people are on Twitter in this area. I'm going to point out that most of these are organizations, which again kind of brings it back to the fact that I think Twitter is so great for connecting organizations and businesses, finding partners, collaborating. Here, Twitter gives us some suggestions of who to follow. Here's that promoted symbol. So they don't really necessarily know that we, might be interested in this, but Mutual of Omaha paid to have this show up here. This is based on people that we do follow. Here are our trends. Now, you can tell it where you want your trends to be based off of. You do the United States, Chicago. Honestly, again, this is I wouldn't even worry about this. Since most of us are with kind of, okay, Liddy, I've got a couple here. Any security concerns about clicking on all these links, hashtags, etc.? I would say no. I mean, especially not if it looks like a reputable organization. Here, the tweets you see here are going to be from people you've already followed or have been retweeted by those people. So hopefully you're following people you feel and organizations you feel pretty comfortable with. But let me point this out. Here we have our reply, retweet, favorite, more, report tweet. So if it looks fishy, you can always report it to Twitter and kind of let them take care of it. And they do a pretty good job of keeping track of things. Since we're talking about that, when you sign up for Twitter, you will get people signing up or following you who you know are spammers. That's just kind of part of it. But just report them and you're good. And you can block people too. So if it looks like it's fishy, you don't want that person following you, block them and you're good. Okay? That's a really good question. And Liddy, how do you unfollow someone or an organization? How can you get more followers? Okay, so let's say we decided we didn't want to follow Hershey Cause. I am going to go right to Hershey. We're following them. If I clicked here, it would unfollow, and it's as simple as that. And to answer your question of how do you get more followers, my answer to that is engaging. All of those ways we talked about engaging, so tweeting, following people who you think are interesting, having a dialogue any way you can on Twitter, that is more important. And I think if you asked any communications professional, social media professional right now, the number of followers really is not indicative of success on social media. It's really your engagement. And I'll show you a little bit about that here in just a bit. I want to make sure we have time to do a couple more things. So really quickly, I want to show you that if you go to the Iowa Cancer Consortium page, you can click on our followers and see who follows us, but you can also click and see who we're following. And this is a great way to find organizations and people to follow. So go to those reputable organizations that you really are interested in and have a connection with, see who they're following, and when you're looking at them, it'll show you over here, you can follow those people. So let's see, for example, let's say we follow our WJF Public Health. I'm going to click on them. I'm going to see who they're following because I think some of those might be interesting. Oh, I don't know what it's thinking. And here, see, I see a list of people they're following, and I can follow any of them instantaneously. So that's a great way to find people to follow. Okay, I mentioned the Me over here. I want to show you that. This tells you what people are seeing about you. So here is our profile, official Twitter page of the Iowa Cancer Consortium, our name, our handle. We've got our website up there, all about our following, and then it shows us a list of tweets just from us. Again, here's one that doesn't look like it's from us, but it's because we've retweeted it. You can see here again, we could see who we're following, who our followers are. Here's where we find our favorites. So you go to your Me tab, favorites. Here are all of the links or the tweets that we've favorited. So we can come back and see what we favorited. Let's say there was a link we wanted to remember later. This is where we would find it. Okay, lists is a little bit like level 2 of tweeting, so we're going to skip over that for right now. Now, very briefly, connect shows interactions we've had. So here, Allie at Cancer Iowa, thank you for the great Twitter 101 webinars. Oh, listen to you. So you know what? I love that, so I'm going to favorite it. Thanks, Allie. I appreciate it. And you know what? I might even retweet it. Retweet to our followers. So now everybody who follows the Iowa Cancer Consortium is going to see that in their feed. Let's say I wanted to reply. Remember how we said the username would pop up first of the original tweeter? And if I were to type, "Thanks for the shout out, Allie," the only people who would see this would be people who follow both Allie and Cancer Iowa. Now, but I want all of our followers to see how great we think Allie is, so I'm going to put that period in front of it. And basically all we're doing there is tricking Twitter so that they don't know that it's just directed at Allie. They think it's just a normal tweet. It did not start with a username. I'm going to do tweet. Okay? Too fast? Oh, Rachel, you've got a question. With your personal professional Twitter accounts, can you navigate back and forth between your accounts similar to Facebook? No. That's a really great question, which I actually think is really good. And here's why. On Facebook, you have to sign up for an organizational page basically through a personal account, but there is not that connection through Twitter. You can sign up for an organizational page without having a personal account, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So if you're going to have more than one person who's tweeting, you're both going to have to know the username and password. There are products you can use. Hootsuite would be one of them, Hootsuite, that would allow you to have multiple users using that at the same time. But no, it's completely separate on Twitter. That's a really good question. Yeah, Gabby was wondering that too. Nope, so you have to log out and log back in. Now, you know what? I'm going to take a step backwards there, though, Rachel. And on some apps, so on my phone app, I have one Twitter app and have two accounts connected to it, the consortium's and my personal account. And I just basically, it seems like it interacts, but basically I just have to make sure I have the right account selected, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Now, okay, Victoria, if you didn't start the tweet with @username, would it have been seen by everyone following you? That's a really great. What, Victoria? I don't know, because it just automatically has it pop up there. I have no idea. That's a really great question. You should try it. Let's do an experiment. Okay, Allie has hers pulled up. We're going to see what happens here. I'm going to say webinar will be archived at iowa.org. Out. Tweet. Apps. Oh, it doesn't even, you know what? I think that showed up just as a tweet. Yep, so it just showed up as a regular tweet from us. So that was a really good question, Victoria. I just learned something too. So you could just get rid of that. The one thing about doing that is it doesn't show up as a reply to Allie, so she's not going to see that necessarily as being directed at her. One more quick thing here, discover. This is just tweets. It basically says what's happening now, tailored for you. So Twitter is trying to help you find things that you think would be really interesting. Here's our direct message envelope. These are direct messages we've had. If you wanted to do a new message, we would just type the name. I'm going to send myself one. Sittig. You'll notice that you still only have 140 characters. So it's still like a tweet. So I'm sending myself one. Same thing. It's just like a tweet, but it's private. Okay? And that would show up on my personal account with a little number 1 right there in a red circle. So I'd know that I had a direct message. Settings. We could profile or edit our profile here. While I'm doing this, I'm going to have those of you who feel comfortable with sharing your Twitter handles, if you have one, type them in the chat box because we're going to use them here in just a second. So if you would do that. But here you can change your profile picture just by uploading. You can change your header. Here, Liddy, I think it was you who asked about this. You can change your name. So there is a limit on characters, which is why we have IA, Cancer Consortium. But let's just say we wanted to be known as ICC. I'd just change it right there. We'd still be at Cancer, Iowa, but our name would appear as ICC. Change that. Our location is Iowa. It allows us to put our website. The bio is what shows up at the top. So here, we'll look here, right here. Here's our bio. I like to use the official Twitter page of with organizations. Connect with Facebook. Now, here's one thing to be careful about. I would not connect it with Facebook. Here's why. Because then what you tweet is going to show up on Facebook. And the two are different animals. Facebook allows hashtags, but they don't really serve much of a purpose. And Facebook does not have anything to do with Twitter handles, if that makes sense. So you might be typing something that would make tons of sense on Twitter, but doesn't on Facebook. I would say take the time to do two things separately. Facebook allows a few more words. That can be a good opportunity, or Bane if you think of it that way. But anyway, so that's your profile there. Liddy asks, can you delete your username so you want it to be completely off Twitter for some reason? You can deactivate an account. You can reactivate it within 30 days, I believe. But otherwise, yes, you can delete it. The one thing you want to be careful of is that I believe that if you have an email address affiliated with that account, you deactivate it, you cannot open another Twitter account with that email address again outside of that 30 days. So if you decide to deactivate a Twitter account, make sure to go into your settings and change your email address. So you do that basically over here, account, there's my address. I would want to change it to something that I don't care about. You could even make up, put in a fake email address out there. Okay. All right, we're going to go back to home really quickly. We're going to do a tweet. So nobody else wants to share their usernames? Nobody? Thanks, Jason. Allie, Rachel. Okay, two places. I don't remember mine. Yeah, okay. So there's two places you can look here. Here is a little blue box with a quill, because how different than technology can you get than a quill? It seems weird. Or over here, compose new tweet. We'll click here. I am going to do a quick tweet. I'm going to hashtag this, Twitter 101, not that anybody will use it, but in case we did want to a great partners. Check them out at, and I'm going to do, all right, at Beyond Pink. Hey, look, there they are. We follow them, which is why they popped up. All right, Jason, I saw you. Follow you too at JR. Let's see, Allie Bain. And now these people will get notified that there is, that they've been mentioned in a tweet. Okay, so it connects them. Maybe they'll retweet. Who knows? Maybe they'll favorite. Who knows? But it's just a way of connecting with these folks. Okay, so I'm going to tweet. Do you see the counter down here? As I type, oh, it's getting red because we're about to run out of characters, and we're out of characters. Okay, so that's how you keep track. Down there, here's where you add a camera or a picture, the little camera icon. It would just have you browse on your computer. You can add a location if you want. When you're done, tweet. Oh, no, I don't know what that means. I already tweeted that. Okay, so it must have done it when it gave us that error first. Okay, so it went through. we'll check it out just to make sure by going back to us. There we are at Twitter 101 to a great group of partners. All right. Now, you guys, for those of you who have not set up a Twitter account, we're running short on time. Everybody's had awesome questions. I was going to show you how to start one, but it is pretty much just like opening any account. Over here on the right-hand side under web links, start a Twitter account will take you to a page that has you basically start the whole process. Now you know the difference between your user handle or your Twitter handle, your actual name. I think now that you understand the components of it, you know how to upload a picture. You can, I think, get through that pretty easily by yourself. If you run into any roadblocks, please let me know. My email address, I'm going to type it up here because I don't think I put it on my slide. Okay, thanks, Liddy. I'm going to, in case other people are having to leave, I'm going to go ahead and open up the evaluation survey. Please email me questions if you have it. Please take time again to do the evaluation survey. We sure would appreciate that. Oh, did that popping up for everybody? Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you taking an hour out of your time. And again, we'll let you know when it's archived on canceriowa.org so you can go back and watch the recordings. We'll leave this up a little bit so you can finish the evaluation survey. Again, check out the web links over to the right. And if you want to download that Twitter 101 PDF, it's just an outline of some of those terms that we talked about. I hope to see you guys on Twitter. You can follow me if you'd like at Kelly Sittig. And again, our Cancer Iowa one is Cancer Iowa. So that's ICC right there. Please feel free to follow me. Let me know if you have questions, and have a great day, everybody.